for today's cup of coffee, we're going to be talking about the case of Christa Tilton. And I have something from How and Why's that you can read, which is quite a bit shorter than the one that I'm going to read, which comes from Mysterious Universe.
And who was it again?
Christa Tilton.
Is she like a distant cousin of Paris Hilton?
Tilton, not Hilton.
I know.
Okay, but anyhow, and this one is so unusual that I am going to have to read most of it or it's not going to make sense. And How and Why's tried to abbreviate it, and it made no sense. Especially when it got to the point about after the shooting, and there was no mention of the shooting. And I'm like, well, that leaves questions. There's quite a gap there.
I'm not familiar with the story.
I'm not either. And I
don't know anything about it. I don't know about the shooting. What?
Right. And this is, so I'm going to give credit definitely to the author of this, and that is Brent Swancer. Swancer. And like I said, I always post links of my references and stuff like that and citations. It's not an APA format, I will tell you that. But they're saying
Screw APA format.
Really. Some of the descriptive words to describe the Tilton case: outlandish, unbelievable, bizarre. And that's just starting off, and that was both articles. It was actually kind of hard to find anything about this individual, which makes you wonder right there.
Yeah.
Because usually when it's, somebody that's got pretty much an ironclad abduction story, there's quite a few people that cover it. But you have to watch what you get on Google search, because it'll be the same story on multiple websites.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't even, sometimes they give credit to the original writer, but sometimes not.
Yeah, sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And they don't even give, sources.
Right.
They don't cite their sources.
So, in other words, they're plagiarizing.
Yeah.
So, I'm not, that's not cool in any respect. Anyhow, so we'll give Mr. Swancer his moment here. In Christine Tilton supposedly had an encounter July of 1987. She had an inexplicable bout of missing time, with 3 hours of her life simply gone, no reasonable explanation. Oh, 3 hours is nothing.
3 hours?
What we've been through.
That's it?
What we've been through. Oh, no. I try to be gone for like 9 months or years. Yeah, that's something. And but that's for another video. It says, after suffering from nightmares and finding herself constantly pondering why she had lost time, Tilton underwent hypnosis, and this was where she would find her lost memories surging into her consciousness and would weave an outlandish account of alien abductions, secret underground bases, and strange experiments.
Secret tunnel.
Aren't most tunnels kind of secretive?
No.
Unless you look for them.
Like train tunnels.
Well, yeah. Under hypnosis, Christa would remember being approached by 2 small humanoid creatures who grabbed her by the arms and somehow rendered her unconscious. When she awoke, she found herself lying on a table within a small craft where she was approached by what she calls a guide. This guide gave her some sort of liquid to drink, which immediately woke her up and energized her. It's called coffee.
Coffee is not a basic food group.
After which he took her outside into what appeared to be a small hill. She would say of what happened next. Who writes a sentence like that? She would say of what happened next.
That's not proper grammar.
And Christa had said, it was dark, but I saw a faint light near a cavern. We walked up to this area, and it was then that I saw a man dressed in red military-type jumpsuit, like a pilot would wear. My guide seemed to know this man as he greeted him as we came closer. I noticed he wore some type of patch and was carrying an automatic weapon. When we walked into the tunnel, I realized we were going right into the side of a large hill or mountain. There we were met with another guide in red, and then I saw a computerized checkpoint with 2 cameras on each side. Now remember, this is 1987 here. To my left was a large groove where a small transit vehicle carried you further inside. To my right, it looked like a long hallway where there were many offices. We took the transit car and went for what seemed to be a very long time to get to another secured area. It was then that I was told to step onto some type of scale-like device that faced a computer screen. I saw lights flashing and numbers computing, and then a card was issued with holes punched into it. I would later realize that it was used as identification inside a computer. This is 1987. I'm trying to remember if punch cards were still a thing back then.
Yes.
Were they? Okay.
Yes.
I asked my guide where we were going and why. He didn't say too much the whole time, except that he was to show me some things that I needed to know for future reference. He told me that we had just entered level 1 of the facility. I asked what kind of facility it was, and he did not answer. The guide then wordlessly took her to a large elevator that had no door, and they descended with him merely remarking that they were going to level 2. Here she says there were offices and people walking about, all of them human and seemingly oblivious to her presence, just going about their business as if she wasn't there. It all looked rather like a normal office building. Well, that could have been. It was just the cubicle people. They don't notice much.
Is she in the back rooms? Is she in the SCP Foundation?
Quite possibly. It says that there were other guards, armed guards, in colored jumpsuits there. Also, they were interspersed throughout, and at one point they passed what looked like a huge factory of some sort, which had what looked like small alien craft parked there. This is another one that needs a thesaurus. As she looked at this factory and the strange craft, she saw what looked like typical gray-type aliens going about some sort of maintenance on the craft, which also ignored her as if she had every right to be there. After she was taken to another elevator to level 5, where she was asked to change clothes, by this point she was starting to feel terrified. It took her to level 5 to feel terrified? I don't know. Maybe it was just a delayed response.
I would have been like scared immediately, like from minute 1 when I woke up.
Yeah, you know. But anyhow, her guide asked her, he assured her that there was nothing bad that was going to happen to her. She put on a hospital gown and was weighed and scanned with some sort of electrical device, after which she was led past another guard station and down another hall. Now, I wonder if this is one of those hospital gowns that's open in the back.
I don't know. They knocked her out, kidnapped her, and they're not going to harm her?
And she's reassured about this.
Oh
but,
my God.
Well, we've seen people today that it's the same thing. Anyhow, it said that it was here when she says she was suddenly hit with a wave of overpowering stench that smelled like what she thought might be formaldehyde.
Well, that's harm.
Something that she knew from her days as a former nurse. Now, if she was a nurse, she would have known for sure whether or not that was formaldehyde. It has a very distinctive smell.
Yeah.
The guide reassured her that everything was all right, but the smell was oppressive. And she says of what happened next. Now, how can a smell be really oppressive? I mean, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. She stated...
Have you smelled hair bleach?
Well, yeah, that's not oppressive. That's overpowering. It's overwhelming.
Have you smelled perm?
Yes,
solution?
yes, I have.
Now that's oppressing.
Yeah, I guess it is. Tilton claims, we came to a large room and I stopped to look inside. I saw these huge, large tanks. Huge, large.
This is her
statement. Keep kicking the tripod.
Sorry. This is an author who failed at writing books, so they decided to publish news articles.
Maybe they missed the Bat Boy from the Weekly World News. Anyhow, with the huge tanks, with computerized gauges hooked to them, and a huge arm-like device, that extended from the top of some tubing down into the tanks. The tanks were about 4 feet tall, so standing where I was, I could not see inside them. I did notice a humming sound, and it looked as if something was being stirred inside the tanks. I started to walk closer to the tanks, and it was at that time that my guide grabbed my arm and pulled me roughly out into the hall. He told me that it wasn't necessary to see the contents of the tanks, that it would only complicate matters. No, as if they're not already complicated.
Human soup.
So we went on down the
That's
hallway,
what it is.
and then he guided my arm into a large laboratory. I was amazed because I had worked in a laboratory before and was seeing machines that I had never seen before. Well, now, what kind of laboratory did she work in where it was all-encompassing? I mean,
was she high?
Well, that's a possibility. I was amazed because I've done that. It was then I turned and saw a small gray with his back turned doing something at a counter. I heard the clanking of metal against metal. I only heard this when I was preparing my surgical instruments for my doctors in surgery. Christa was then told to sit on the table in the middle of the room, and she was now getting the very strong sense that something wasn't right.
No shit.
She's a little slow on the uptake, isn't she?
A little?
Anyhow, the fear of beginning to grip her more tightly. As she sat there wondering what to do and what was going on, a human doctor then entered the room, greeted the guide, and turned his gaze to her. She explains the next part of her very odd tale. My guide smiled at me. Smiled at me. Well, hey, with this story, it could have been, he could have sniffed her. The sniffing of people seems to be a thing these days. Anyhow, the guide smiled at me and told me that he would be waiting outside and would only be there for a few minutes. I began to cry. I cry when I get scared. The gray alien looked at me and turned around to continue what he was doing. The doctor called for more assistance, and it was then that one other gray alien came in. The next thing I knew, I was very drowsy. I knew I was being examined internally, and when I lifted my head, I saw this horrid gray alien glaring at me with large black eyes. Okay, but then what other kind of eyes did the other ones have?
Beady.
Maybe they were the potato people.
Beady Walter eyes. You know, like Walter, Jeff Dunham's dummy.
Yes.
Those little beady eyes.
Maybe. Shark eyes.
Beady
They all
old
dead
man
like
eyes.
shark eyes. It said it was then I felt a stabbing pain. I screamed, and then the human doctor stood next to me and rubbed something over my stomach. It was cold. The pain immediately subsided. Okay, if you've got a human doctor there, whatever the Greys were doing to this woman, supposedly, why didn't the human doctor tell them that it was going to hurt? Maybe with the sadist.
maybe the numbing solution, whatever, wore off then.
No, they gave that to her after.
Yeah, but notice that she felt drowsy, and when she woke up, that's when she noticed that they were examining her insides.
I don't know. I know why they call this bizarre now. It says the pain immediately subsided, and I could not believe this was happening to me all over again.
Again? Why didn't she say that this happened to her before?
I begged for them to let me go, but they just kept on working very fast. After they were finished, I was told to get up and go into this small room and change back into my other clothes. I noticed blood as if I had started female period at the time. Anyhow, that's what she said. She didn't say it like that. Yeah, but I continued to get dressed, and when I came out, I saw my guide speaking to the doctor in the corner of the room. I just stood there, helpless. I felt more alone than I ever had in my life. I felt like a guinea pig. After we left that laboratory, I was silent. I was angry at him for allowing this to happen to me again. But he said it was necessary. I guess this is the guide she's talking about, the he. People need to, pronounce folks.
But, okay.
But he said it was necessary, told me to forget. I see more aliens pass us in the hall. Again, it is as if I was a ghost. I asked my guide to please explain this place to me. He told me it was a very sensitive place, and I wouldn't be brought back again in the next few years. I again asked where I was, and he told me I could not be told for my own safety. That's one of those old spy lines. If I tell you, I'll have to kill you. I mean,
bullshit.
Well, you know.
Bullshit.
She then got into a sort of transit car with her guide, and they moved on to what she considers to be the most unsettling thing she saw the whole weird encounter. The most unsettling thing. Here we go.
The surgery was not the most unsettling thing? Oh, come on.
It continues. Tilton states, I saw what looked to me to be people, all different types, standing up against the wall inside a clear casing-like chamber. I went closer, and it looked as if they were wax figures. I could not understand what I was seeing.
What is this, Madame Tussauds now?
Possibly. I also saw animals in cages, which that goes back to that other woman's encounter, where they had them in the beta fish. That was in suspended animation.
The blob child from Invader Zim.
Yes. They were alive. They looked as if they were in suspended animation. Well, I should have read that first. I went up to the clear casings that they were being held in. I put my hands on the casing and leaned towards them to see if I could get some kind of response. I did not. I could not discern whether they were dead or alive at that point in time. They were just not moving. I could not see whether or not there was any fluid. Well, it could be. I think that the casings were free of any fluid in this particular case. All right. She says after this, her guide took her back outside of the waiting alien craft that had abducted her, and she was taken back to where they had found her, and her memory was wiped. Remembering this experience through the hypnosis marked the beginning of a nearly obsessive search for answers as to what had happened to her. Although she was never explicitly told where she had been taken, she would come to the conclusion that she had likely been brought to a secret underground base beneath the town of Dulce, New Mexico, a place that has been the center of all manner of conspiracy theories since at least the 1970s and is a hotbed of UFO activity, cattle mutilations, and talk of top-secret underground bases. In addition to this, I think I have heard Linda Moulton Howe talk about that. I trust that woman. Of course, I've listened to her for many, many years.
Yeah.
In addition to this, Christa claims that after this initial experience, she would be abducted on numerous other occasions and taken to different underground facilities where she claims the government keeps a network across the country. Okay, all right. Going back to if this was the initial abduction, why did she say that it was happening again?
Right. Like, that just doesn't sound right.
No. All right. She states, I'm aware of many, many, many underground facilities or bases that are being used for different purposes. Most of the underground bases are being used for covert purposes. It's an underground base. Of course it's covert.
Secret tunnel.
Or
otherwise
purposes involving governments who are doing certain types of testing that they consider would be safer to do underground. Okay. And then there are the bases, one in particular north of Tucson, Arizona, where I'm almost positive I was taken to. It goes under the cover of Evergreen Aviation. They have all the planes there and everything. But what I found during my 10 years of research is that it is a CIA-backed or based facility. I got a very, very close, page turning, guys, in the facility. I climbed over the wired fence and sneaked in with a pilot friend of mine not long ago and got some great photographs of some black helicopters. Okay, now let's just pause just a second. If this is such a secure area, how in the hell did she climb the wired fence?
Exactly. Like, that something's not right here.
Right. These black helicopters, now why would they have them out in the open?
I guess they forgot their cloaking shield or something. I don't know.
These
where's the blanket from Harry Potter?
Really, these black helicopters were unmarked. Well, of course they were. There were other types of aircraft there, and so we really believe that there were many, many bases in many states. Again, with the thesaurus. I've heard of bases in almost every state here in the United States. Tilton has written a book about her experiences at Dulce, rather straightforwardly called Underground Alien Biolab at Dulce. Well, yeah, that's anyhow. And has been very vocal about these underground bases and aliens in general. Her stories have gotten increasingly eyebrow-raising over the years, with her claiming to be an alien hybrid. And she, a bunch of bullshit. She has written extensively on her encounters with various types of alien beings, including what she calls light beings, reptilians, blonde-haired humanoid Nordics, and more, with agendas that range from strict non-interventionists to imperialistic factions who want to conquer Earth. Well, maybe she's just paying attention on that. Yeah. Then there are those, of course, the Greys, which she has made abundantly obvious she doesn't care much for. She has not minced words when she has said about what she said of the Greys, and she quotes, I quote of her, "The Greys seem to do things like a massive collective consciousness. I've noticed that they do things together. There is almost no discussion among themselves. They seem to be working on projects or on certain things that are given to them by higher-ups or higher alien beings and or humans. I can tell you right now that the main weakness of the Greys is that they have no soul. They are soulless. Do not allow them to tell you otherwise. Some of them have been known to try to impart some type of false religious philosophies on people that they've abducted. And the thing is, you have to realize that these aliens have their own agenda. It is not something that I feel as a positive one, really. Certainly, I have to believe that the Greys are, the only way I can describe it, is that they are an empty case.
They're dumb.
There's nothing there other than a superior technology type of brain apparatus up in their skull area. Otherwise, they are of no use to us, really. They are really of no use. They are used to impart different technologies.
He's going to have to retake English.
Well, this was Tilton, not the writer. The writer's done
She's
better
going to
than
have to retake English.
Well.
She did not pass the 5th grade.
No. They are used to impart different technologies and give us information, but as far as trusting them, I do not trust them as far as I could throw them. Hey, maybe that could be a thing.
I mean, I have heard of this woman.
Gray tossing.
I mean, I literally have heard of this woman, like picking up an alien and shaking it like a gray alien, and it just.
But did she toss it?
I mean, she put it back on the ground.
No, it's not. There's.
She didn't toss it, but they just stood there. They're just dumb. They were looking through her shit, and they just all stared at her like, oh.
Well,
she dumb.
I'm telling you,
dumb.
We could have gray.
That's why I'm not threatened by gray aliens, because they dumb.
We could have gray tossing contests.
I would love
to do that.
That's why they crash all the time, because they dumb.
Okay, and it's hard to know what to do with this rather spectacular case. This is the main writer doing on this. And with all the added details and science fiction-sounding claims made over the years, Tilton has gained just as many skeptics and detractors as believers. It is all certainly a compelling and oddball case, but is there anything to it at all? So,
I'm just...
All right, and it says here
she must have been
that whatever you might think, it manages to stand on the fringe end of alien abduction cases, and true or not, it manages to point out just how deep down the rabbit hole one can go. And
she's on drugs.
It says that, that's a pretty deep rabbit hole. One of the things There was another one that's supposedly written by her, which is called the Bennewitz Papers. And that's on Amazon. And it says that it's a report concerning the highly classified case of research scientist Paul Bennewitz, who was repeatedly harassed and intimidated by the military after providing proof that he had established contact with aliens on his radio and TV, as well as taken a film depicting UFOs maneuvering near nuclear storage on Kirkland Air Force Base. And it says, here is your golden opportunity to find out the identities of the secret group within the military known as the Aviary, who are trying to release classified info about UFO crashes and incidents, why it is necessary to interrogate and hypnotize witnesses only in specific secure places, the various levels of alien activity, why in most cases ETs cannot be photographed, and do aliens want to bring spiritual enlightenment or enslave humankind. Also contains highly sensitive material on animal mutilations in the Southwest, I guess, as well as specifics of underground alien hibernation chambers where they might be breeding a new super race. That's all contained in that book. It had no customer reviews. None. I don't think, there have been very few times that I have ever gone to an Amazon thing and it had no customer reviews.
No, I've seen.
Have you?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few things with no customer reviews. That doesn't mean that people haven't bought it. That just means people haven't.
I should have looked to see as far as the purchases. But maybe the people were embarrassed that they had purchased it.
I mean, yeah.
It's like the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. I will review that at some time.
God, that one's just tragic. Squeaker.
So what do you think? Do you think that there's anything to Tilton's
I think she was
account?
on some drugs.
That, or it was just this mishmash of any kind of abduction scenario imaginable. Maybe she watched too much TV or too many movies, or
she needs to put her movies away. What would she watch? She's full of shit.
Well, there's quite a few people that think that. They have that same opinion. And when people do interviews and stuff like that, and especially with some of the other abductees, yes, it can be hard to believe. But I had to see two different articles that have basically the same opinion. And after reading her, her statements, yeah, I think I'm of the opinion she's probably full of shit too.
Yeah. Like, well, why didn't they cite their sources?
Well, they did. I mean, as far as her book. So they had read. Well, that's about it. I don't know if she's done TV or radio or anything like that. I might try to do a quick search on YouTube to see if there's any interviews with her. If they are, I'll include those in the discussion, or in the description box.
I swear, if she speaks exactly how that was wrote, I worry for her. I am concerned for her own mental health.
So am I, especially the fact that she claims to have been a surgical nurse.
Yeah.
Because you usually have to have pretty much high intelligence on that.
Very much so.
And that includes writing skills, because you have to make documentations and notes and all this stuff. And
mm-hmm. Exactly. You cannot be a dimwit.
Not usually. Or at least if you are a dimwit and you're in surgery. And I want a real nurse. I don't want somebody that's play nurse.
I don't want that nurse.
No.
Ever.
No. And wonder if she went back.
And I've had doctors fuck me up.
Wonder if she is going to go back to being a surgical nurse. Of course, at this point, she's probably
made
old
her
enough
coin.
to,
She's made her coin off the book.
or not. I don't know.
Well, we don't know much about her anyway, other than this article.
Right. Well, that's the thing, because some of
I've never heard of her before.
Some of the sources that I'm finding have some really good abduction stories. And I was massively impressed with the, thought of Tesla and Marconi and those guys having contact.
But like with Walton, his was believable.
Oh God, that man's got PTSD horribly to this day.
And it's clear that he is.
Yeah. It screwed him up for life.
Yeah.
So. And we've been around people with PTSD. I have a form of PTSD.
She does.
And, so it's one of those that you can watch him in interviews. And I know there's always doubters and haters on everything. But knowing what we know with the experiences we've had, that man's not faking it.
He's really not.
And for him to be consistent this many years out.
Exactly. And if he wasn't, damn, he would have screwed up a long time ago.
So, as far as Tilton, I mean, y'all can read it. Y'all can do your own research. I'm sorry that I had to read it verbatim, but it made no sense even when it was read verbatim. Verbatim. So, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, we got Kat that's going to bolt in front of this vehicle, and we're hoping. Oh, thank God it didn't get hit.
Squeaker!
So, if you all have actual UFO and alien encounters, if you've had experiences with the paranormal and supernatural, cryptids, if you've had Bigfoot sightings, and like I said, for those of you who have had Bigfoot sightings, we're not going to make fun of you.
Yeah, we won't make fun of you.
We're not, actually, well, we are sort of making fun of Tilton, but it's one of those that,
unless
if you're full of bull, take it someplace else.
Yeah, and if somehow you do have a story that's similar to hers, that would be interesting to hear your experience about that.
Like I said, I can deal with Bigfoot sightings easier than I can some of the people like that.
Right.
And especially when they said that they had, crossed the fence into CIA or some kind of government intelligence facility. Oh, hell no. You'd be shot on sight.
The only way you can do that is if you were, lucid dreaming. And you dream about the place.
I can't remember who it was. Some dude had gone, he was legit. He had driven just near the thing. And there were people in an unmarked truck that came out, asked him who he was, why he was there, told him to leave and not come back. And he did. And he made his video. It's been years ago since I watched this. So these people have surveillance like we can't even fathom.
Right. So that just...
We had weirdness. It's like when I went to edit the video, that's the reason it just stops. There was nothing else there. Camera has never done anything like that. There was no technical malfunction that we were aware of.
It was weird.
Especially since we were discussing the unmarked helicopters.
Yeah. Something's messing with our tech. Aliens.
I don't know. That was just really, really weird. So, I don't know. Maybe there is more to the Tilton story than we realized.
Maybe.
So, we don't have it. We have Greenbrier that's in West Virginia. That's still quite a bit from us. There's Oak Ridge that was like a nuclear facility, but it's quite a bit down the road from us. So
very much down the road from us.
Nobody cares what people in these mountains are doing. Really, we are the forgotten people, and we're
just
minding
our own business.
But it was just peculiar, and it's like I had great deal of difficulty uploading a video to BitChute. Finally got it to go. Got today's video, tonight. Finally got it to upload after trying for over 24 hours. Odyssey's site is doing something weird also. Now, so we've got electrical weird, and it's not even Mercury in retrograde.
Solar storm.
I don't know if it's a solar storm or not. I didn't hear anything about it. So, I don't know that we did anything that you all missed other than saying that that Tilton's story was questionable.
Yeah.
But after what we just experienced, maybe it wasn't. Maybe we need to take
I don't know. We
haven't
been abducted by aliens.
I don't want to be abducted by anything.
I don't have no problem with it.
I know. Let me tell you, somebody start probing and you might have a problem with it. So, anyhow, just weird. That's the reason that that's boggled my mind, actually. So what we were going to say is, if you have had a personal encounter with UFOs or aliens, if you do have an abduction story, send that to us, along with supernatural or paranormal experiences, cryptids, local legends, myths. You all know the spiel by now. But we understand that even within the paranormal community, people who have abduction stories they have a greater chance of being disbelieved than people who have had some of the other paranormal things.
Right, exactly.
Except for the Bigfoot people. I think they're, the abduction stories and Bigfoot, they kind of run neck and neck, and people with them thinking.
There's no stories of what's his face abducting people.
Bigfoot?
Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that within the paranormal community, people can believe more so somebody who's had seen an entity or anything like that. It seems to be harder for people to wrap their heads around, being abducted by extraterrestrials. And for some reason, the people that have Bigfoot sightings, a lot of times they are not believed.
Right.
And I don't understand that. Why would that? Why are people picking and choosing what to believe and what to not?
They do that all the time.
Well, I guess that's true. So if you do have, as far as some kind of alien contact, extraterrestrial contact, if you want to share those encounters with us, we're not going to make fun of you.
No, we are not. And literally, just because we think that this woman's story is bullshit doesn't mean we think everyone else's story is bullshit.
Absolutely. So, email us at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. Email address is also in the description box. And if you don't want your video, if you don't want your story made into a video, that's fine too.
Yeah, just tell us.
If you just want to share it, yeah.
Yeah, just tell us whether or not you feel comfortable with it being shared or not.
Well, it's all, there in the description box, it does state for those who want to share their experience to give consent to share the experience. That protects me from legal mess.
Right.
But I have had people that shared things with me just so that they could share some. You'll get an email back.
Exactly.
That is not going to be mocking you or making fun of you or anything like that. Because when you have that experience, some kind of experience like that other people don't want to believe, that can be really hard. It can feel very isolating.
Oh, very, very.
So we don't want anyone to feel isolated on this.
Exactly. We want everyone to feel included on this.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
So we're going to go and ponder our weird.
Yeah.
And who knows. But anyhow, you all have a beautiful, blessed day. Know that you're very loved.
Mm-hmm.
And, keep the stories coming in.
Stay weird.
Stay weird. We have no choice. Bye.
Bye.